Hey, I'm in my new office. I've been wanting to do this video for a while because, quite frankly, I'm getting older. And I also had a couple of girls on New Year's Eve who were asking me questions because one of them expressed an interest in doing busking/street performance. So I'm just going to give a couple of pointers as a baseline or a um, a suggestion, meaning everything here is circumstantial. Some of what I say, you might just be like, well, no. But just this is once again getting started, just a couple of tips. First of all, preparation. So you got to take care of yourself out there. You got to make sure that whatever you need to perform well, you have on you. Otherwise, you're going to either have to do some creative engineering, been there, uh, just power through it, also done that. And sometimes, honestly, you just say, you know what? No, I'm not doing it. I'm going home. All of those can happen, and all of those are fair. Now, this is the big one I tell people, especially when you're getting started. This is side hustle money. I tell people frequently, do not quit your job or anything like that to go and become a street performer. Uh, People may not like hearing it put this way, but we are kind of a type of beggar. It doesn't mean that we're sitting out with our hands out or asking people for spare change. I am very gracious whenever I do get tipped, but the fact of the matter is you are relying on tips. And even if you're playing well, you might not get tips. There might not be the people out, you know. I've played through recessions where I did notice that the money goes down. All of these things affect the bottom line of it. And which brings me talking about playing well and stuff like that. Rude people. No matter how well you play, you will have to deal with some jackasses. That's the unfortunate reality. A lot. So I'm speaking specifically about hecklers. So whenever you're playing and they yell, oh, you suck and stuff like that, understand you are not there for them. And don't get me wrong, I've had moments where I'm like I had somebody say, "Oh, you suck." And I said, "I am not your mother." And I kept going with what I was doing. The fact is, a lot of times you don't even have to respond. And if I was in the middle of a song, I wouldn't have given him any time. You don't owe these people time. You are not here for them. You're here to connect with whoever likes what you're doing. Okay. And now this one's going to take a bit. Your surroundings. So, first of all, make nice with the locals and as much as you can, and the businesses. So, a good example is one of the places I play, they shut down quite late. So, I gave a tap at the door and I just asked them, because they were shut down, I just asked them, hey, if I set up in your doorway, do you guys need to get out through here? And because I don't want to get in their way. And they said, no, 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 you can go ahead, do your thing. So awesome. On that note, also be aware of the law and make as nice as you can with the cops. Right now, I'm at a point where the cops and I are somewhat indifferent to each other. I've been in situations, though, where the cops were a little more hostile and saw buskers as a menace and as stopping people from clearing out at night, specifically on the late night shifts. Just be aware, try to be as cordial as you can. There are going to be some cops, though, that are just, they're like with anything, there are the occasional cops where they are there just for a bit of a power trip, quite frankly. The vast majority of cops, like I'd say about 98% of them that I've dealt with, have been fine. It's a job. They're there to just do their job. Also, be aware of the foot traffic. So you want to be in an area with more foot traffic because the more people hear you, the more chances you have to connect and have people go, I like what this person is doing. Okay, so for me, where I am and where I typically go, I find, for example, I use one side of the street at night. This has more bars. I will get to how alcohol can really change the mood. And the other side I use during the day because this one has more shops and restaurants and stuff like that. There's a dead zone, I would say, probably, let me think, right around when the shops close to before the bars open. It's kind of dead. And honestly, if it's really dead, I just say, you know what? I don't need to go out. Which also brings me to weather. Sometimes the weather can make it so people are not going to go outside. That's just the reality, as well as you don't want to risk frostbite because that's a bad time. On top of that, with the weather, it just, like I said, you don't want to hurt yourself, and sometimes people are not going to go out because of that. So unless you really have the itch or you're thinking, then I would just say stay in. Maybe go find an, if you're really itching to play, maybe go find an open stage or something. And finally, this brings me to song selection. So, song selection is kind of a finicky thing. You do want, I find that I make compromises. So, for example, I often have people request Wonderwall and Metallica. And I will say, if anybody's walking by and they shout out a song or an artist, they are on par with hecklers, in my opinion. They are, even if you do play it, they're not going to pay you, generally speaking. And if I'm in the middle of the song, no, I'm going to finish up the song. If they stop and request it, I'll try and find something. But going back to Metallica, I don't know how to play Metallica. Nothing against Metallica or their fans. I I don't really have an inkling to learn how to play any of their stuff. However, I do know how to play uh, Ace of Spades by Motorhead. So I would do that to placate people and be a nice little, you know, compromise of sorts. On top of that, sometimes I find like there are songs that I try to make work and they just don't work. And that's when I had to decide, do I like this song enough to keep it or should I set her free? And the other thing is, speaking, this kind of goes into your surroundings, but also with the song selection, my daytime song selection is different than the nighttime because the nighttime I incorporated the rule of, you know, if I wanted to play WAP, for example, by, uh, I think it's Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. Sure, after 12, go for it. I am not going to be playing that during the day when people have their kids out. That's a personal thing for me. It's not going to look good if I do. Um, and other than that, I will say there are going to be some personal things that you have to decide what to do with. For example, there's one song, it's not by anyone I've mentioned so far. People request to me often, I do not like this song. I do often have it on my in my book, and I do believe I kept around a an iPad type of thing or a tablet so I could look up this darn song. And quite frankly, I only play it if I'm getting paid because like I said, don't care for the piece. But other people like it. Okay. So, those are my tips. I might do something more in depth later. I hope this helps you out if you are considering. I will say the first times are kind of rough, I found, and it takes a while dealing with the rude people to build up a bit of a thick skin. But yeah, hope it work. Hope it works out for you. If nothing else, you can get some performance experience. And I hope to see you later. Cheers.